Thank you. What is President Biden's top domestic priority?
Well, we've always been very clear that his economic policy is something that's important, especially when he walked into this administration. The economy was on its head. That was not existing and not with the last administration. And what the president had to do, right, to make sure that we were dealing.
So today's talking about climate. There's a lot of action with China, and you mentioned high prices. So what is the top priority overall?
He is the president of the United States. There are multiple issues, multiple topics that the president has to deal with. That is the job of the president, right? He talked about climate. It was not just about climate.
And one more. Why hasn't TikTok been banned yet?
Look, as you know, there's a CFIUS review. I'm going to just leave it there. It's being reviewed by that committee, and so the president thinks it's an important issue to deal with. But I just don't have anything else to add beyond that.
The congressman who was also the former head of oversight, the first black head of oversight and government reform, he questions, once again, how exhaustive were the efforts to not have this in this moment instead of dealing with it in the budget, putting it in the budget discussion moment. Why now?
So this is a conversation that we were ready to have weeks ago. But it took some time for Republicans to put forth what their budget looks like, or what they perceive their values are, and showing that to the American people.
Did the White House do a compare and contrast to yesterday, understanding Republicans had asked and received work requirements during the Clinton years? Did the administration look into that to see the successes, lessons learned, etc.?
The workers' requirement question that you asked, I mentioned the 21 million Americans who we protected, the president was able to protect from losing their health care. Look, again, it is important, we believe, for Americans to not lose their health care. And that's what the president was able to do. Look, the president's insistence that the GOP proposal for SNAP is temporary. And the bill includes a major expansion, again, for veterans, for homeless, for people who are homeless, for former foster youth. All of those things truly matter. And the combined impact of these provisions is that the number of people subject to SNAP work requirements will likely stay roughly the same. And so that's another thing that's important to note.
Work requirements for welfare recipients during the Clinton years. He said it didn't work then and it won't work now. He said it's going to create pain and suffering. And he said this should have been done during the budget process versus now. What do you say to that congressman and others who feel that this is pain and suffering that you're eliciting on those who are the least of these in this nation?
The Inflation Reduction Act. And if you look at the Inflation Reduction Act, for example, it is going to help lower costs for families. Healthcare costs is going to help our seniors. When you think about creating SNAP eligibility expansion for veterans, for homeless people, for young people coming out of foster care of all ages, it's going to expand that. So there are things in this bipartisan budget agreement that is so important to those everyday people.
Congresswoman Jayapal has said she's going to be a no on the debt limit and budget deal. What is the White House's reaction to this, and how confident are you that this is going to pass the House?
Clearly should get both Republican and Democratic votes in both the House and the Senate. As it relates to your question about the Congresswoman, look, we're not going to speak to any individual member and how they vote. What we